In 170 AD, Marcus Aurelius was fighting a war he didn't start, in a land he didn't choose, against enemies who kept coming. He had been emperor for 9 years. In that time he had faced plague, famine, military revolt, and the deaths of several of his children. The Roman frontier was collapsing. And yet, Marcus Aurelius kept going. Not because things were going well. Because he had learned something most people spend their entire lives refusing to accept. He wrote it in his private journal on the banks of the Danube River, surrounded by soldiers and freezing mud. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Read that again. What stands in the way, becomes the way. This single idea, 2,000 years old, might be the most practically powerful thing ever written. And almost no one actually lives by it. Today we are going to change that. The problem most people have with obstacles. Here is what most people do when they hit a wall. They stop. They wait. They hope it moves. They look for a way around it. They tell themselves the timing is wrong, the circumstances are unfair, the obstacle isn't their fault. They are right about that last part. The obstacle often isn't their fault. But it is still their problem. And waiting for it to disappear on its own is a strategy that has never worked and never will. Or they do the opposite. They rage against it. They exhaust themselves fighting the reality of what is, instead of working with it. Seneca described this perfectly: he who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. Neither avoidance nor rage is the Stoic answer. The Stoic answer is something stranger. Something most people find almost offensive the first time they hear it. The Stoic answer is, good. What the Stoics actually believed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." The fire does not complain about the fuel. It does not wish for better conditions. It takes whatever is thrown at it and becomes larger because of it. The Stoics believed that obstacles were not interruptions to life. They were the material of life. The Roman general Scipio Africanus once said that the difficulties he encountered in his campaigns were not setbacks, they were the very thing that built his capability. This is not positive thinking. Positive thinking asks you to pretend the obstacle isn't there or believe it will magically resolve. The Stoics had no interest in pretending. They stared at obstacles directly, named them clearly, and then asked one question: how does this advance me? That single reframe changes everything. Because when you ask how this advances you, instead of why this is happening to you, you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being an actor within them. The same situation. A completely different relationship to it. Practice 1. Separate the obstacle from your judgment of it. The Stoics drew a hard line between what happens and what you make of what happens. Epictetus put it plainly: men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about things. An obstacle, by itself, is neutral. It is a fact. A door is closed. A plan has failed. A person has said no. A market has turned. These are facts. They carry no moral weight. They are not punishments. They are not signs. They are simply what is. Your judgment of the obstacle, that it is catastrophic, unfair, permanent, that is where suffering comes from. And unlike the obstacle, your judgment is entirely within your control. Marcus Aurelius practiced this by what he called objective representation. When something went wrong, he forced himself to describe it in plain, factual terms. Not, everything is falling apart. But, this campaign has been delayed by 3 weeks due to supply chain problems. What are the options available to me right now? The moment you strip the drama from an obstacle, you can see it clearly. And the moment you see it clearly, you can begin to work with it. Practice 2. Find the action hidden inside the obstacle. Every obstacle contains within it an invitation. A lost job is an obstacle. It is also an invitation to examine whether that job was actually where you should have been spending your life. A broken relationship is an obstacle. It is also an invitation to understand yourself and your patterns more deeply. A business failure is an obstacle. It is also the most expensive and thorough education you will ever receive. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The things that hurt, instruct." The obstacle is teaching you something. The question is whether you are paying attention. This requires a specific kind of discipline. Because the first instinct when something goes wrong is to look outward. To assign blame. To wonder what could have been done differently by someone else. The Stoic instinct is to look inward. Not with guilt. With curiosity. What does this obstacle reveal about a weakness I can strengthen? What skill does it demand that I don't yet have? What assumption was I operating on that this event has now proven false? These questions do not make the obstacle disappear. They make you larger than it. And when you are larger than an obstacle, it is no longer an obstacle. It is a step. Practice 3. Use resistance as fuel. There is a physics principle that applies here. An equal and opposite reaction. Every force that pushes against you is energy. The question is whether you absorb it passively or redirect it deliberately. Seneca described this with a river and a rock. The river does not stop when it hits a rock. It finds the edges. It works its way around. Over time it wears the rock down entirely. The river is not more powerful than the rock in any single moment. But it is more persistent. And persistence, directed intelligently, beats raw power every time. When Marcus Aurelius faced military stalemates, he didn't wait for the situation to improve. He looked for what the stalemate revealed about his enemy. He treated resistance as information. This is available to you in every area of your life. Every client who says no is giving you information about your pitch. Every workout that breaks you is telling you where your body needs building. Every failure is a diagnostic. The obstacle is not working against you. It is working for you, if you are paying attention. Practice 4. Embrace what cannot be changed. Here is the hardest part. Some obstacles do not move. Some losses are permanent. Some doors close and do not open again. Some things cannot be rebuilt or recovered or undone. The Stoics had a practice for this. They called it Amor, Fati, love of fate. Not tolerance of fate. Not acceptance of fate. Love of it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but wish that everything happens as it actually does, then your life will flow well." This is not surrender. It is something far more sophisticated. It is the recognition that fighting reality is the only battle you can be guaranteed to lose. And that the energy spent raging against what cannot change is energy stolen from what can. When you love what is, when you genuinely embrace the full reality of your situation, including the parts you cannot alter, something remarkable happens. You stop being divided. You stop having one part of yourself in the present and one part in a different future that isn't coming. You become whole. Collected. Powerful. And from that place, from full presence in the reality of what actually is, you can act. Clearly. Effectively. Without the fog of wishing things were otherwise. The final principle, it never stops, and that is the point. Here is what Marcus Aurelius understood that most people miss. The obstacles do not end. There is no version of life where you handle enough obstacles and then coast. Every level brings new resistance. Every achievement brings new problems. Every answer generates new questions. Most people find this exhausting. The Stoics found it clarifying. If obstacles are permanent, if resistance is the natural condition of a life being lived, then the only question worth asking is not how to eliminate them. The question is, who do you become through them? Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome for nearly 20 years. He faced obstacles that would have broken most men before breakfast. Plague that killed 5 million people. Wars that never fully ended. Betrayal by people he trusted. The death of children he loved. And through all of it, he wrote. He reflected. He returned, again and again, to the same discipline. Look at this clearly. Find the action within it. Use the resistance. Accept what cannot change. Move forward. He did not become great in spite of those obstacles. He became great because of them. The fire made him larger. That same fire is available to you. It is available right now, in whatever obstacle is sitting in front of you today. The setback. The failure. The door that will not open. The person who will not move. What stands in the way becomes the way. That is not a consolation. That is an instruction. If this video gave you something, subscribe. There is more where this came from.